One moment. It's preparing, it's setting up. And we are streaming. One moment. It's preparing, it's setting up. We're ready.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Dobbs Elementary Go Team meeting, where we will follow the agenda as it has been emailed to you and publicly noticed. I would like to remind everyone that this is a meeting of the Go Team. Only members of the Go Team may participate in the discussion. Any members of the public present are here to quietly observe. For members of the Go Team, please identify yourself when you speak. And I am pleased to call this meeting of the Go Team to order at 3:59 p.m. Our first order of business is to call roll. The secretary will now take the roll.
Good afternoon, everybody. When I call your name, can you please say present? Miss Tiffany Reagan.
Present.
Alexis Ofadile. Shan Hines. And then I am here, Miss Brianna Spence.
Present.
Miss Tina Quinn. I just saw her. Miss Tina Quinn. Okay. Miss Bernadine Connor.
Here, present.
Miss Jen James.
Present.
And Miss Kristen Reed.
Present.
All right. Kristen.
Thank you, Centennis. And you said there is a quorum present?
Yes, there was when we started.
What are
But
the
I'm
numbers
seeing
to
Miss
ensure that we have a quorum?
She
6.
says, oh, go ahead.
6?
Yes.
What's our total? She said, what's our total members are 8, right? Or is it?
I believe it is 8. Yeah, it is 8. It is. There's 7 participants. Who am I not supposed to count?
Miss Waukesha and Miss Reagan.
Just 1, 2, 3,
So there's
4,
5.
5.
Okay.
That's majority. She told me majority.
Yeah, that is majority.
Okay, so we do have a quorum.
Yes, ma'am.
Awesome. So our first order of business is to approve the agenda. It was provided to you via your email. Are there any changes to the agenda?
I had a question. When did we get the agenda for this month?
It was sent out, I think back in October. I think she sent it out like 2 days later.
Yeah, it was sent out 2 days after the meeting.
Okay, got it. Looking for
But it's always available on the Dobbs Go Team website.
what's that?
The Dobbs Go Team website?
Yeah, what's the address? It's just on Dobbs website?
Mm-hmm. It's on the Dobbs website, and then you click on Go Team. You found it? Okay. May I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I motion that we approve the agenda.
A second?
I motion, I'm sorry.
Okay, second. You second. Okay.
Yes,
All
ma'am.
in favor, please say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay or raise your hand. Are there any abstentions? All right. So thank you so much for that. The minutes have The agenda has been approved. So now we will review and approve the meeting minutes from our last meeting. The minutes have also been provided to you. And if they weren't in your email, they're also on that website. Are there any corrections? If there are no corrections, may I have a motion to approve last month's meeting?
I
Minutes.
move to approve the October meeting minutes.
A second?
I second.
All right. All in favor, please say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay or raise your hand. Any abstentions? Okay, great. Now we're going to move on to our action item 1. Our first action item is our strategic plan update with Ms. Reagan, and I'm sure she'll move right on along to action item 2, ranking the strategic plan.
I'm glad you said that, Ms. Spence, because I actually, the district has provided us a template, and it seems to be in a different order from the template agenda and the items on there. So I'm going to flip-flop and do the SIP first, because
The
that's what they
SIP.
asked us to do first. And then I will go into the strategic plan, and I'll probably hit most of the bullets on the document, on the agenda.
Okay. So we're going to
Okay.
go to the discussion items and discuss our continuous improvement plan, and then we'll go through all the rest of the things.
Yes. So if you all will hold on, let me share my screen. If I could just get a thumbs up or something, if everybody sees
Yeah.
it. You can see it?
Yes.
Oh. I usually have a little screen over here. I don't see it. Okay. Nonetheless, long as y'all see it. All right. Good afternoon again. I'm going to go ahead and take us through the second Go Team meeting for today. And I'm going to start with the continuous improvement plan. But before we get started, there are some commonalities, some different things that we have to make sure we put out in front of our team. So just to let you know where we are, we're talking about the strategic plan today along with our SIP. And it's the guide for how we do our work in the school. By monitoring this plan and ranking the priorities, we'll all work together towards the common goals using the priorities and the SIP this year with the team, the leadership team. So that's where we are on here. This is the timeline for the Go Teams. As you can see, we are on number 4 in the midst of the September through December, because everybody's Go Teams meetings are on different dates as long as they get into those ranges. Utilizing current data, we'll review and possibly update the school strategic plans and priorities. And we've already looked at some data on the last meeting, but I kind of put some on here again, just so if we needed to reference it, so I didn't have to go into two different places. So we have the continuous improvement plan, the alignment and the progress, and we'll talk about the strategic plan updates if needed, and we'll roll back around to discuss the school uniform piece. So I just want to put in front of you what the current strategic plan is. And we talked about how we had re-ranked some of those on last year. But as you can see, we have our SMART goals at the top. From left to right, we have the literacy in the left, what we should do to increase proficiency and decrease beginning. In the middle column, you have in the middle square at the top, that's for numeracy or math. Again, talking about the increase in proficiency and decrease in beginning. And the third column to the right is for the attendance. So just so you know, those will be our big threes, would be, of course, literacy, math, and attendance, okay? And so what we have with all of those, we have our strategic topics over here, which is fostering excellence for academic for all. We have to talk about data, curriculum and instruction, signature program, cultural support, equipping leaders and empowering staff, and creating a system of support. With that, you have those 5 areas. And our 5 areas are increasing proficiency and literacy in math, and the strategies that aligned are here. And I'll let you all, you can read those on your own. Number 2, increasing staff capacity in literacy and instruction. And these are some of the items we are doing. And increasing staff capacity in data analysis and usage for instructional decision-making. We hear. Increasing STEM integration. We'll go with this one, implementing and utilizing the learning profiles. And the last one of our priorities is increasing daily average, attendance. And we have the strategies over here. This is just a general overview, and you'll see more how we'll kind of go back and forth as I proceed throughout the slides. But do you all have any questions about this before I proceed? Okay. So we presented the data at the last meeting. However, I just put it on here. I kind of moved it over here just so you can kind of get it back in your head really quickly. This is just a quick overview of what we talked about the last meeting. And this is, they wanted us to go through it. I just don't, even though we did it the last meeting, I feel like in order to talk about the continuous improvement plan and the strategic plans, you still need to have the data kind of a little fresh. And so I wanted to represent it, but not in such a detailed way, but just kind of put it before you once more. Again, I had talked about the GMAS for ELA and science, and it was broken down between ELA and science because at the time we had not had the math. So you'll see the math at the end, the same as I presented it before. And so here you have the our strengths on this page. And this is our increases in in the ELA for third and fifth grade. And of course, like I said, at SWD. And we were aiming to decrease beginning. And these are some of our strengths or successes with what we were able to decrease in those areas. These were our challenges on the GMAS. SWD having, only the 4 students at that time, having those in 100% in the beginning, decreasing in proficiency and above in 4th grade, and increasing the beginning numbers in 4th grade math, and stagnant in science for 5th grade. The math data came in later. And again, this is the math data. I'm not going to go through that. We talked about, just as a reminder, we want to decrease the red and increase the green, both greens. We have the proficiency and distinguished here. And so remember the top level was our general ed students and the bottom was our special ed students. So I'll take about 20 seconds and let you all look at that and just go to the next one because again, this is the review from the last meeting. That's 3rd grade, same concept. Our goal is to decrease the red. This is 23, 24, and increase the green. And as we already stated, it's one of our challenges, so we didn't do so good in the math category, and SWD is at the bottom. Here's 5th grade. Of course, you see decrease the red and increase the green, so that's looking a little bit better. That's just a quick review, same as our old in our previous presentation. So the fall maps, I didn't go through the map presentation because we have not taken the winter, and it would be easier to figure that we talked about the fall in the last meeting, but the fall map results will be better when you have the winter, but the district does not start taking winter map assessment until after Thanksgiving break. So the next meeting we'll be able to compare the fall versus the winter and see where our strengths lie and be able to have some more data to guide what other strategies we need to have and or what other discussions we need to have with teachers or what tweaks we need to make within our instructional program. So this is kind of, we did this before. I know we talked about the notices and the wonderings before, but if you all had anything else that you all wanted to bring out, I'm open to hear that. But other than that, we can move on because we actually did the notices and the wonderings before. But if you all had anything else, I didn't want to, stifle your voices. So if you had anything else you wanted to bring out with the data, otherwise I'll go ahead and move on. Okay. So moving on to the continuous improvement plan. So with the continuous improvement plan, we start with the needs assessment. And what happens is with the myself, the leadership team, and a couple of teachers, we talk about the strengths and weaknesses based on the GMAS. And here we have the left side, the strengths, which is the same kind of thing I kind of showed you before, and some challenges. And so with that, we kind of do a Y protocol, a 5Y protocol, and I'll explain that to you all in a second, to determine the root causes of why scores are the way they are and where we need to go from there. So here, everything, like I said, will be in the threes, will be reading, math, and attendance. And the challenge is reading, math, and attendance. And I'll let you all read that. I don't want to read to you all to insult your intelligence, but I'll give you a moment to read it. And you'll see this quite a few because it's actually part of our goals and all of that. So.
Is there any indication how this correlates with district averages or percentage increases or state percentage increases?
There is a report. Are you talking about with the CCRPI?
With the different percentages you have here under reading, math, and attendance.
So ask me your question one more time.
So if I'm reading this right, Dobbs increased the number of students who
Okay, so I'm
scored.
sorry, it went out. Say it one more time. My volume went out. Say that one more time.
So if I'm reading this right, Dobbs increased the percentage of the number of students who scored proficient or above from 14 to 17.
Based on map data.
Right. And so I'm asking, do we have that same data from the district, like all the elementary schools, or from?
That's in a database. Yes, that's in a database, but I didn't bring that. I don't present typically that. I can do it at the next. Yes.
But so my question would be, it's great to have this. It would be more helpful to have this compared to what the rest of the district is seeing. Because if y'all go from 14 to 17, but the rest of the district goes from 14 to 7, then we're telling a really positive story about what's happening at Dobbs. And that, like, we don't have the context we need to really understand what this means without having something to compare it to.
So thank you for that, your thoughts. And I do understand exactly what you're saying. So we do have a platform that does access the district data. However, different schools have different needs, different demographics, different contexts. So for example, if we have a school in a different cluster or what have you, they may have started in a totally different place. Let's say they might be moved from proficient, their goal may be to move from 70 to 80. But we still have to work with the kids that we have as well. So I understand what you're saying, but we have to make sure we are doing what we can for our babies at Dobbs. Yes, there are we have our CCRPI data or what have you that gives a score in terms of how it's judged by the state. And we have our content mastery data in addition to closing the gaps data. They just recently released the progress data. But in terms of what we need to do at the school, even let's say we saw the district at 80%.
Right. Can I stop you right there, Ms. Reagan?
Yes, ma'am.
What I'm saying is, and that's why I said, like, is it district or is it cluster? Like, is there a data set, a group of schools with similar resources, similar student dynamics, demographics, similar starting place that Dobbs is looking at? And it's like, oh, these 10 schools that are like us this was what their data looks like. That's what I'm saying. Like, it would be easier to contextualize if we had something that shows us what a school in a similar situation is or isn't doing.
Ms. Reed, if this is helpful, there is a website that you can go on called APS Insights, and it gives per school the data.
Oh, yeah, I totally
Um,
get that. Yep, been there, done that.
You're talking about for the
I'm just
presentation.
suggesting that in this context, like we don't have, like I want to be paying attention to you. I don't want to be on a side website doing research, right? So in the future, it'd be nice to have that context added to what we're receiving as a Go team.
Okay, I can add that in there.
So do y'all have a group of schools that you kind of,
Yeah, so we have
look
a
at?
cluster. We have a cluster of group of data, which is consists of 5 elementary schools, a middle school, and a high. Each one has a group of elementary schools, a middle and a high.
Right.
So we do have some comparison data for that. However, so for me, when they give me when we do the template, we are also asked to abide by the slides or the template and what we share as well. But I do hear you, and I can possibly provide that or what have you. I just wanted to make sure I was providing what was asked of me as well.
Mhm.
But I do understand. But yes, we do have a set of data.
Like just this cluster?
Yes, ma'am, for South Atlanta cluster.
Right. Okay, cool.
Yes. And just extra context, they asked us to specifically present so many things in one area. So I follow the guidelines. And so I didn't add anything extra. Whatever they asked me to add into the slides, that's what I was doing. But I do understand, and I can actually I wrote that down actually to add the content, and I can try to add that to the slide for the next one so you can see it.
Thank you, appreciate it.
You're welcome. But so we know how we're doing at the kids at our school. We just want to make sure we're providing them what they need, because like I say, even our needs versus our cluster schools needs, to your point, are also different. But I understand, and I got it, and thank you for that feedback, and I'll make sure I can provide that particular slide to let you know how they're doing in reading and math in the cluster. But these are basically based on what Dobbs is doing and where we are and what we have, and so how we can move those in our building. And then we do, typically compare those to other ones as well. But this is just to make sure we have our own strategic plan to make sure we're doing that part. So outside of that, this is just basically telling you what the team does. Of course, we had those the needs and the challenges, and then you take the overarching needs, and it's really like a protocol. So I'll just walk you all through it. And this is basically there. And so we come up with a problem statement. So the overarching needs were students are making a progress in ELA, moving from developing to proficient and above. However, the number of students scoring in beginning is not decreasing. And so then we come up with a problem using the data. The same thing for math. And then we would do the same thing for whole child intervention, which is really attendance. And so we come up with a problem statement to increase that. And then basically we have a why protocol, which is called the 5 whys. And as it takes a good little while to do because it's a lot of discussion. And so basically, so you're gonna know the front column is literacy, the second one is math, and the third column would be attendance. And basically the 5 whys is basically you go back to the problem statement and ask that question, and we talk about why. And then we try to drill down, and each time we ask a question. So for example, we had the problem statement, over half of the students are not demonstrating mastery, as to why we are, not decreasing the beginning. Over half of the students are not demonstrating mastery of the standards by the end of the school year in literacy. And so we will come to why, and we said, well, why is that? Well, why are they not mastering the standards? So the majority of students are missing foundational reading skills. So we asked, why are they missing foundational reading skills? Some of them are not participating in learning experiences that expose them to content that provides the foundational skills that are needed to have rigorous instruction. Why? Students don't participate in enriching experiences that match their varying needs and consistently engage in instruction that's rigorous for individual students with varying levels and abilities. Why is that? Teachers are not consistently utilizing small groups aligned with the pedagogy that addresses specific needs. And so you'll see throughout the slides and some of the things we try to address, some of the things we have in our action plan, and where we are now in terms of some of these whys. And I'll talk about some of the foundational pieces. And so in the math, it was the same protocol. And I'll let you all look at that, and the same thing with the whys for attendance. So it's basically just a protocol to determine where we are, how did we get there, and what's the root cause of the reason where the data is. And so it's just to basically guide our work, to create goals, to have action steps, and create a plan. Do I have any questions before I move to the next slide? And if we have time, Ms. Reed, at the end, I may be able to pull that up for you. But if we have time, it depends on how long this takes, because I have quite a few slides that I have to present. And so the root cause we came up with for literacy, teachers at higher grade levels don't have the pedagogical skills or the capacity to teach foundational skills to students that may have not mastered the foundational skills at lower grade levels. Teachers don't always know what experiences to provide for students that are rigorous or challenging for individuals with varying grade levels. And you'll see later on, but I can go ahead and speak to this, some of the things that we can talk about that we have worked on in the literacy, and some of the teachers are on, and they know breaking down the literacy piece to making sure we get drill down to more foundational skills. We've provided the upper grade levels for those students who may be in upper grades, even though they have standards that they're supposed to master. They have something called Morpheme Magic, which also in small groups will address some of those skills that they may have missed in the primary grades. In numeracy, the root cause was determined. Teachers are not consistently providing opportunities for learning to be connected to previously learned standards, nor is content consistently spiral. So numeracy and math is a different thing, because we just got last year new math standards. And so the teachers are right now trying to make sure they conceptualize and internalize what the content is, so they can spiral it correctly, so that one skill builds on another, and so that they're understanding what they are doing, because the math is quite different from previous math, as we know. And with attendance, the school hasn't solicited the input of students on what they would like to experience at the school to make them want to come to school more. And so we in the process of creating several surveys and so forth. And so our overarching needs at the bottom, literacy, students are making progress. However, the number is kind of the same as our problem statements, gradual improvements in attendance, but we need to increase the number of students that are chronically absent, and same in math and literacy are the same as well. So our goals are in literacy to increase from 12 to 17% on the 2025 GMAS, and decrease from 53 to 48. For math, to increase from 13 to 18, and to decrease beginning from 50 to 45. And the numbers are small because we want to be reasonable, because we're making sure that we try to touch those students, and we can't account for, of course, the time after school. So we want to be reasonable so we can reach our goals. And the percentage of students meeting the CCRPI criteria will increase from 60.3 to 62. Some of the measures are listed below, and I'll let you read those, which entails interim assessments, common assessments, data meeting, observations, graphs, trackers. So some of our action steps for literacy, and you'll see some of the same things for math. And one of the main things that we're continuing to work on is monitoring the delivery of Tier 1 instruction. That's what everybody receives. And then small group, making sure that small group is where those kids that are lacking skills or missing certain skills or certain standards, they get in those small groups to individualize the learning. So Tier 1 is teaching everything to the standards for everybody, and then making sure that we're delivering the small group, making sure we monitor that. Not just, and you'll see it on reading and you'll see it on math, and then making sure that the instructional leaders are going through to provide informal observations, as well as we do school-based walkthroughs and providing the feedback for them as well. The goal, monitoring collaborative planning. And so the teachers have collaborative planning as well. Right now, we have kind of moved from last year where they were planning more out what they were doing, internalizing the lesson. This year, we moved to making sure that the teachers plan and practice the lessons, and they're actually practicing the lesson in front of the instructional leaders so that we can make sure the teacher's delivery is has improved. Because what we found is the teachers were doing a really good job writing lesson plans. However, sometimes the delivery didn't match what they planned, or they go off script. And we want to make sure that what we plan for is what we're putting in front of children. And so that's what we're talking about in collaborative planning. And then monitoring our formative assessments. So teachers have common formative assessments that they do weekly that are provided. They have some of their own interim assessments, and we have the MAP assessment, of course, by the district, and other like exit tickets that the teachers assess the kids on a daily basis. So we're trying to utilize all of those things to give us a idea of how we're doing on our continuous improvement plan. And so you'll see the same thing on math. But before we get to math, we have the subgroup. If you all remember from the last meeting, we talked about those subgroups being another group that there are 15 or more, like our of course, we know a subgroup will be African-American students because we know that's 15 or more students. And then we have, let me see, what's another one? Our ESOL population, we have less than 15. I'm drawing a blank. But the groups that have 15 or more, we want to make sure that that they're paying attention to. Those are what we get monitored on as well. And so basically the teachers and SWD students with disabilities, we are monitoring to their data notebooks. Data notebooks are where they progress monitor and individualize their learning via their IEPs and their goals that are written. And so the teachers have to have up-to-date notebooks in their drive to make sure that they are doing what each individual student's IEP states. I'm actually working with district now to ensure that that they're doing that properly. Right now, our special ed lead teacher is on maternity leave, and we have a couple of sit-in CELTs, which is why I'm also working closely with the district as well. In addition, our action steps are making sure we provide more professional development to the SWD teachers so that they can be better at what they are implementing through best practices and doing a better job with co-teaching. That's for literacy, and some of those same things would be the same thing for math. So here we have numeracy here. Monitoring the delivery here, I'm not going to read that again. Like I said, they're the same things, but just the different subjects. And this is just basically stating the data again from the goals. The subgroups for numeracy. And this is the whole child and intervention SMART goal, making sure that the care team has current communication. So the care team consists of our MTSS, multi-tiered support person, our social worker, our registrar, and the assistant principal. And I'll talk about the assistant principal piece in a second. And basically, we are making sure we communicate to parents about bringing their children to school, because in elementary school, we know that attendance is a parent problem, not necessarily a kid problem, because they can't control when and not they come to school. So they have to do what their parents say. So we try to work really well with the parents. And then we want to make sure we increase our average daily attendance and work with our CCRPI criteria to decrease chronically absent students. We have town hall meetings to provide daily recognition of classes with attendance, and we try to do monthly incentives, and we state every day, we highlight every single day perfect attendance classes as well. And then we are also working to utilize the protocols to identify specific students with the concerns. And so let's say we have 100 students that have chronically absent students. It's kind of really hard to get that. So we try to get a reasonable number, a small caseload, divide the caseload up to the members of the care team, and make sure we do some intentional things, whether it's family incentives, doing house visits, just providing different check-ins with the students. So we're doing different things to ensure that we increase attendance. So they're asking that we do a quarterly check-in, and I'm not sure if you all, many of you all knew, 6 weeks of the year I was out from all of September, a bit of first week in October, and what do you call it? End of August. So 6 weeks I was gone. So a lot of the things I'm catching back up on. And so the check-in process it's a constant thing. So I'm constantly meeting with groups, individuals, and all of that. But based on that, what actions have we already taken? We are already in the process. Coaches, administrators are already in the process. We're monitoring in the classrooms, making sure we observe, actually providing meaningful feedback, going back to see if that feedback is working. We have monitored that we've restructured literacy, as I've already stated, implementing small groups, not only in literacy, but math, making sure that we, those foundational skills that we discussed, making sure that we address those in small groups. So because the students don't need the same things. And we want, especially kindergarten and 1, we need those babies reading, because when they go into 2nd grade, we're trying to prepare them for 3rd. And so we know that K1 and 2 is learning to read, and 3, 4, and 5 are reading to learn. And so we're trying to make sure we close that gap and make that transition. And so although we have to give out the grade level standards, the small groups are really, really powerful in that. And so we're observing those and providing feedback on those as well. What data do we have to collect that? I'm going to give more data, like I stated, which is why I stated that I was out. And so my assistant principal has now transitioned to a principal role. And I think I said that last time, but I want to reiterate that. And so the same as next meeting, I'll be able to give you a little bit more data. I was actually looking at the trackers. We're tracking standards and, of students and what they're scoring. So that will be available, but we're continuing to collect the quantitative data from the interim assessments that are being tracked. Now, some grades based on whether it's a teacher absence or whether students are absent. So the district gives you a scope and sequence to follow, what curriculum and what to teach when. So if, let's say, week 2, you're supposed to be on rocks or something, some of the grade levels are behind like 1 week. And so we're working with them to make sure they catch up the curriculum. And so, like I stated again, data tracker from teachers are available also. So I will X out the student's name if need be, and try to, once we have that a little more tight, present that to you as well as the cluster data, as Ms. Reed mentioned before. Do you all have any questions about this before I move to the next slide? Okay. All right, so I'm going to scroll back up to our strategic plan. I'm sorry, yeah, strategic plan priorities. So I stated that all the goals are reflected in our priorities. So I'm gonna let me see if I can escape. Let's see. So you all can see are all the SIP goals reflected in a priority. So our goals, of course, are increase proficiency, decrease beginning level, and increase attendance. And so here are our strategic priorities. So I want to go back down to that again. So based on what you've heard, are there any updates that you think need to be made to the strategic plan? Let me put it up again. No updates? Is everybody okay with the strategic priorities that are presented?
Yes, I'm okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so
I'm okay with them.
okay. So since we're okay, I think because we're still working on these areas, we can leave it the same. So I'm not going to add anything to this slide. This is just, well, if you all had any updates, we will add those to there, the plan. So here we have what progress has been made towards the priorities. So I just stated all are in progress, tracking via data meetings with the teachers and the principals. Adjustments have been made towards the literacy instruction to include intentional small group time. Literacy and math professional learnings are ongoing. We have professional learning and data meetings every week. We're continuing to collect more data from observations, assessments, and attendance. And this is the same question. Are there any adjustments? So since we don't have to vote on it since we didn't update the strategic plan. So I'll move to this piece. So strategic plan priority ranking in preparation for the 25-26 budget development, which is in January through March. The GO team needs to rank its strategic plan priorities using the slide next to capture. That's for me. So basically, I'll go back up again to see if we want to keep them in the same order. Do we need to re-rank them? So we just re-ranked them. We re-ranked them last year to this because we had improved attendance, which is why we put attendance to the bottom. Literacy and math is still big. So if you all think the strategic rankings are fine, just if you all could come off and say so, or if anybody has any other discussion about the ranking.
Yeah, I don't have a reason to have any
I think they're fine.
additional
Yeah, I
feedback.
think it's okay too.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay,
I think it's okay.
thank you.
Mhm.
Alrighty, so we're not gonna rank, we're gonna leave that. So I will actually add that in the slide that will stay the same. So at our next meeting, where we're going, all right, so we have the uniform discussion. I know we talked about this before, and if you all wanted to explore the uniform situation. And with that, we would have to go through a process and there would have to be an additional committee. But I know we didn't get a lot of traction on that in the last meeting. So I think that's something we need to vote on. Whether or not we want to just table that. Because we don't have, again, just as a reminder, there are no parameters. The new policy says that the students should have to have on the top, a bottom, and shoes with a safety thing on the back.
I think this is just my personal opinion. I think it's good as it is now. But that's my opinion. That's
You say as it is now, you mean just the students being able to have choice in what they wear?
yes.
Okay. And as the principal and coming from and having also been an administrator in middle school, the elementary students do a really much better job in being dressed, honestly. And so it's not, although I do like uniforms, it's just really, really hard because you're really monitoring adults. And I have literally had adults just really say, hey, I don't have money for that. I'm not buying that. Even if we offer it, it's just really, really hard. It'll start and then it'll fall off. But the kids are really coming presentable to school. And my focus, because we don't have any recourse on, let's say if they don't wear it, and you don't want anybody to stay out of school because they don't have the right clothes on. Because my main goal is to try to move instruction. I I don't want to have to police the children if they're doing okay, but that's you all's choice. I will kindly go whichever way you all decide.
So just for clarity, the decision that was made last meeting was to simply explore, like go through that APS official process of exploring whether or not uniforms will be what Dobbs does, right?
So something like that after I know I talked to Ms. Spence afterwards because and she had to jump off to go to the CAT meeting, which is the cluster meeting, because this was really one that she was pushing, but I think she was okay with just staying the way it is as well. But that was, like, you are correct, Ms. Reed, in saying that discussion they wanted to possibly explore, but there were no, we talked about who would be on the committee, and there was nobody wanted to be on the committee. And so we can't explore with no committee, but then also offline, we had a conversation, and I think, I don't know if she even, we talked about the misunderstanding of the verbiage. So
Got
you
it.
all tell me what you would like to do.
Well, I personally think it's okay the way it is now, giving the students the choice, um, especially if they're doing better with their uniforms.
So then somebody would need to do a motion to maintain the current school uniform policy, and we have to vote on it.
Okay.
Ms. Reagan?
Yes.
Currently, do the children have to pay for their uniforms? If you were going to say that if they had to have a school uniform, would they all have to pay for it? Which I think would be really hard.
When you say pay for it, you mean have to get their parents to purchase it?
Correct.
Yes, we don't provide uniforms. We have partners that give us clothing in case, kids have soil items or something. They provide some uniform items, but it's not for the entire school. It's just a bank, so that if something happens or a child is dirty or something, we want to make sure that all the kids feel comfortable. So we have a bank of uniform clothing just to make kids feel comfortable if needed,
Okay.
but not.
And yeah,
We don't purchase the uniform.
Yeah, we
Ma'am?
had a congregational member that that I dropped off a whole bunch of uniforms from some weird school, the Globe School, I think. So so we can keep those coming.
Yeah, we do have, like I said, our parent liaison has, we do have some. And so, for instance, we have some of our autistic kids or our primary grades. Let's say if they soil their clothes, if somebody comes, sometimes the kids' clothes may be too small, or sometimes parents don't have a belt. We have we have items to actually supplement, but we don't have them to provide totally.
Okay. So are you saying that you currently have a school uniform from this page?
We attempted to a couple of years ago, but right now students are not in totality in a uniform. But what I
Yeah,
am
that's what I
saying
said.
is we have a bank of clothing items. Most of them are uniform items, as if or something happens to their clothes, we are able to make sure they feel comfortable and they don't have to get picked up or go home, that they can still have some clothes and continue with instruction. That's just a bank of clothing, not provided for everyone.
Okay.
Does that
All
make
right.
sense?
Yes, I think that
Okay.
that is the way to go.
Okay. Yeah, we just want to make sure we keep the kids there if they come in a particular way that's not presentable, or if they're feeling away. Because sometimes the kids may not necessarily be clean. We may send them to the nurse's office and provide them with some more clothes. We have kids whose pants are falling off. We may send them to the parent liaison to get from the bank, get a belt, get a size that fits. We just have a bank, but not 350, which is how we approximately have. So if we could get a motion to maintain, and then somebody would have to second.
I move that we maintain the current school uniform policy.
I second that.
Okay, Ms. Antunes, you got that notated?
Yeah, I'm running now. Who motioned?
Dr. Connor,
Okay, good.
I move that we maintain the current school uniform policy.
Thank you. And Ms. James seconded.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
So the rest of those were if there was a committee, so those don't pertain to us.
No.
This is just, I'm sorry, can I move on? Okay, so this is just a quote, strategic planning will help you fully uncover available options, set priorities for them, and define methods to achieve them. And where we're going, and some of this may be out of alignment, but we'll discuss how our data is aligning to our strategic plan and determine if we need to make more adjustments before the end of the fall semester, which is what we've just done. Take action and vote on strategic plans and the ranking. We've done that. And let us know if you have any different information. Right now, next meeting, I'll be providing more data to let you know where we are on the SIP, in addition to the cluster data that Ms. Reed asked about as well. So I'm going to move on to this. I'm not sure if you all remember or know, we received, every school in Atlanta Public Schools received a security grant update, which was $45,000. And one thing that a lot of schools wanted but could not afford and still would not be able to afford with this money was the school resource officers for elementary schools. As we know in the news, elementary schools sometimes get left off, but there are kids that have egregious behaviors in elementary school. So with that, we don't have to use the money, because really to fund the resource officer, it approximately plus their benefits approximately cost about $90,000+. And we only had 45, so we would have had to share with someone, so nonetheless, if you have not heard, we will be getting next school year resource officers for every single elementary school. Yes, Ms. Reed.
Oh, you can finish. I just wanted to talk after you get done with this part, because I have questions about the slide.
No problem. Hold on. No problem. So with that, we have $45,000. They just released the vendors to principals of what we could use it for. But one of the things of the priorities that we wanted to use it for is fencing. So if you all familiar with Dobbs, we have 2 playground and field areas. We have the lower playground with the actual, well, we had the Delta upgrades, where we have the slides, the swings, all of that. And then we have on the other side of the building that's closer to the street, where we usually have field day and some other activities. Well, that particular area, we have kids out there often, but it is civilians can easily walk on the field, which is a safety hazard. And so one of the things that I think would be beneficial, and we could utilize that area a little bit more, would be to have a fence. Another thing that had come up is when we're at home on the weekends, people in the neighborhood would get their dirt bikes and ride down through there. And then by the time you come, what do you call it? The grass is dug up through traction from dirt bikes. And so if it rains, it's muddy. So if we needed to use the field, we couldn't use it because we had to get the field repaired because of civilian usage on the weekend. So I had to get SROs involved with that last year as well. Also, sometimes during the day, if we want to go outside, like I stated, civilians are walking, and sometimes they have pets. And if pets are loose, there's no way to keep them out. And so we want to be able to use our land, because the kids really do have a good time at field day. We just have to have really, really tight supervision, because there is no fence and it's near a neighborhood residential area. We know that sex trafficking is high, and so fencing that area is something that's really, really needed. additionally with number two, depending on, and I can let you all know, we don't have the quote yet from, because we, again, like I stated, we just got the vendors, but the camera updates, there are sometimes things that happen in the school building where I need to pull a camera to, verify whether a child did something or something was stolen, anything. But sometimes there are a lot of spaces in the building where there are blind spots. And so when I'm trying to investigate, you can't either see it and or it's blurry. And for some reason, whoever installed the cameras, let's say if I'm looking at an incident that happened outside, sometimes they are behind trees, which obstructs the view for me to properly investigate something. And so that was the second thing. Ms. Reed, did you want to ask your question?
Yes, thank you for those explanations. I wanted to hear the other security projects that were considered. And for the fencing, I know you don't have vendors yet, but or you don't have your quotes yet, but are you doing chain link? What kind of material are you?
Oh, I haven't gotten that far yet. Once we get the vendors, I'm sure they will be able to. So I have the vendors. Like I said, they just gave us the vendors. We're working to get, I guess I would have to work to see what the quotes are, maybe to see, like I say, a wooden fence. I doubt if it would be a wooden fence though. But I'm just saying we would have to see from there, because this is something new for us, to see what they will provide, to see what type of fence to have and what would be best for a school.
Okay, there are lots of studies around fencing
Okay.
and neighborhoods,
Okay.
and how certain fencing is actually more dangerous than others because you can't see between it, because you can't see what's going on the other side. Oh, there's a car coming and they're jumping the curb. I can't see it because I have the 6-foot privacy fence and I'm right there. So like like the mood of a neighborhood can change drastically depending on the type of fence that a big institution puts up, because the message that you're sending is you're dangerous, we don't want you, you're not a part of us, if it's like,
Gotcha.
huge
So
fence.
that makes a whole lot of sense. So I would definitely not be moving towards a privacy fence like something I would have in my home. Is that what you? Yeah, that I don't.
Well, no, but not even with chain link. Even with chain link, because it's such a quality, low, Dobbs is such a beautiful campus to have a big chain link fence around what the community has seen as green space can be jarring. So those are just things to
consider.
Have a part of the conversation. Yes. And also,
thank you for that. Actually,
I
said thank you actually for that, because that gives me, when I'm looking and trying to make sure we use our funds correctly, that's good information, because I want to make sure, because definitely I know we are really big with our partners and we are a community school, and I do want to make sure we send the right message. Definitely no privacy fence, but I did not know the research, and I'll actually do some too of like the chain fences or whatever, because we don't want to send that message either. But at the same time, the kids have a right to go out there and be safe as well. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. So, that's why I was wondering if were you thinking the whole area, because it's a huge area.
It's a huge area. It's just been within the last year or two though that we've had so many problems. And I just think that we could utilize it more. But like I have some staff that go outside to walk, and when they were walking, they were falling in mud holes on the hill because they were riding the dirt bikes on the field, but we can't do anything because they're doing that on the weekends. And when I pull up the cameras, you can see them. So some stuff, we want to make sure it's preserved for our baby. So if we need to use it, like when we do field day, we have the what do you call it, the bouncy houses and different activities. But if it's destructed, if it's messed up, we can't use it. So that's my focus. Not but I do appreciate the extra information, because that gives me something to have extra conversation about in terms of what we decide to purchase, if based on how much it is, because of course I need to stay in my parameters of my $45,000.
Yes. Okay. And then the other thing, and we could talk offline about this too, but like the other thing is like, certain fences are more easily destructed than others. And certain fences invite destruction, like chain link fences are so easy to destroy, and kids do it, like the same people who are riding their dirt bikes and four-wheelers around plots of land are the same ones carrying around bolt cutters, cutting through fences so they can do it. So that's not going to stop that. And so a thought would be, what would it look like if we just fenced in some of the area and not the whole area to preserve what we can, while also recognizing that people are going to do what they want to do if we don't have true barriers, and a fence is not a true barrier to keep them out if it's something they're going to be able to just so easily move, like a chain
So I
link.
would have to work with facilities as well
Yeah.
to see what that looks like. In the meantime, if you don't mind emailing me some of the research that you have so that I can read up on it myself.
Yeah, I'll find it. The only reason I am even somewhat aware of it is because our neighborhood organization has had a lot of conversations around fencing and all of that. So I'll see
Gotcha.
if I can find.
No, I appreciate it because that's information that's new to me. And I'm not an expert on fencing, so I welcome it all. So that's why I say, if I don't mind if you like send me some information, but that does give me something to have a conversation about. But I would definitely have to speak with facilities because I would not be doing this alone
Right.
on my own will. You know what I'm saying? So I would definitely consider that and think about that, especially when we're looking at the vendors. So if you could send that to me when you get a chance, I would greatly appreciate it.
Yes. And is there a priority to 1 and 2?
My priority was 1
Got it. Okay.
and then 2, yes. Yeah. Y'all have any more questions on this? Okay. Lastly, I think on the agenda we were having a PBL night. We just recently had our PBL night, which is our project-based learning night with STEAM, which is science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. And basically, the kids, we infuse STEAM into the current literacy, math standards, and science, of course. And they present a big project that they actually do work on throughout the school year. And so they went into the classrooms, they took their parents, and they presented those projects. And these are just a couple of pictures from this past, what was it, 12 Tuesday? This past Tuesday. And as you can see, this is actually kindergarten. They were learning under the sea, and they were talking about how they created things in their community. This is first grade, did soil, sunlight, water, air, weather, and space. Third grade talked about habitats. This was some of our fifth graders presenting how levees work. And then I can't remember what grade level this was, but we had several and we had a partner come talking about giving information about the types of water that we drink and how we infuse them with certain fruits to make sure that we're getting our certain nutritions and decreasing our sugars and all that. So we always invite our partners out as well. I just wanted to give you all just a snapshot of our PBL night, and it was very, very successful. And we hope that they get bigger because the kids actually learn so much. I actually learned something. Fourth grade was talking about discussing sustainability in the community. And I knew we were in a food desert at Dobbs, but I did not know what the mileage was in order to become or be titled a food desert. So you have to be, of course, at least 2 miles away. And to be a grocery store or a convenience store or some type of store has to be 2 miles or more away to be considered a food desert, which is why we are. And so the kids are researching that and talking about the cost of the convenience store versus the grocery store, and why the cost at the gas stations could be higher versus like the farmer's market or the fruit. And so they did mathematical problems, real world exploration. And so these are some of the actual end products of what they discussed since August. Any questions about that? Now, I believe I had on the agenda mentioning the assistant principal thing, but I did not put it on here. But I did want you to know, if you did not know, and I think I mentioned it earlier, and it's my last thing, so we can close out in a second. My assistant principal, Dr. Quayla McIntyre, recently got a promotion. And this was actually, she got the promotion as I was leaving FMLA. and I literally was with her 4 days, and she got moved to FL Stanton. So I'm actually working with HR. We have a substitute AP, which is a retired principal. And my leadership team is amazing. They are also there, and they are stepping in and filling in the shoes in addition to their other duties. So right now, I've selected a group of qualified candidates, and there's a team doing a hire view, and then I look to interview someone at the top of December to make a decision so that a new assistant principal will be available at the top of the second semester. I just wanted to give you all that information. And I'm done. It's on you, Dr. Connor, Vice Chair.
I'm sorry. We have reached the end of our agenda. Is there any additional business at this time? Okay. So may I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I motion.
A second?
I
A
second
second.
to adjourn the meeting.
All in favor, please raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, or say aye. All opposed, please raise your hand. Any abstentions? Please raise your hand. Meeting is adjourned at 5:05.
Thank you. You all have a happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Likewise.
Yes, y'all too. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great meeting. Thanksgiving. Have a great